Welcome to Burlington's Candidate Forum. My name is Alan Foles, and I'll be moderating the discussion. I'm joined by a press panel to ask the questions. On my far right is Joy Richard, representing the Burlington Union. Seated next to her is Rich Hosford, B News Director here at BCAP. At this session, we focus on the race for the Board of Selectmen. We have 4 candidates for two three-year positions. Mike Runyon has been a member of the board since 2012. Another current member of the Board of Selectmen, Joe Morandi, was first elected in 2015. Nick Priest is a 30-year Burlington resident and a senior copywriter at Cambridge Biomarketing. We have another candidate, Virginia Mooney, who is a former member of the board and currently a town meeting member. Unfortunately, Virginia was not able to attend this session. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you.
Now I'll go over the ground rules. Here's how we will proceed. Each candidate will offer a 1-minute opening statement. We've drawn lots for that order. After that, our press panel will begin to ask questions of the candidates. Each candidate has 90 seconds to answer. We'll alternate between members of the press panel and we'll rotate through the candidates for the first response. In fact, I've tried to jumble up all of the orders so we don't have the same person following the same person. We'll see how that works. Bear with me. Next, each candidate will be allowed to ask one question of the other candidates, again with 90 seconds to respond. Now remember, those questions must be answerable by all. Finally, each candidate will give a 2-minute closing statement. Again, we've drawn lots for the order. It'll be the same order as we started with. The closing statement is the opportunity for rebuttals, if you have any, to statements made by other candidates. In the interest of covering as many subjects as possible, I'll keep a close watch on the time, so frame your responses accordingly. I'll try to give you maybe a 15-second warning so you can wrap up. If everyone is all set, we will get started. Okay, by lot, we have decided Mr. Priest goes first.
All right. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Rich, Joy, BCAT for hosting this. Much appreciated. It's great to be here. My name is Nick Priest. I'm a lifelong Burlington resident, raised here by great parents. A biased opinion, I know. My father was a police officer here in town for many years, and he and my mother raised me with values that I carry with me each and every day of my life. Respect, discipline, kindness, honesty, and responsibility. I'm here because I want to make a difference. When my wife and I were deciding where we wanted to live and raise our children, we almost didn't have to think. If it could be Burlington, then that's where we wanted to be. Fortunately, we got the opportunity. I've worked in the marketing and advertising industry for over 10 years, specifically in rare diseases and their treatments, helping businesses position themselves and communicate effectively with their audiences. I've been afforded the opportunity to gain extensive research-driven and legal experience while knowing how to excite, communicate, and make easy-to-understand information available to my audience. Burlington is a town full of opportunity that I feel uniquely positioned to help grow in the coming years as a member of the Board of Selectmen. Burlington has the opportunity to identify itself and become a proactive and engaging town that will continue to be attractive to businesses and residents that are looking to call Burlington home and to find a community. Burlington can be better, and new leadership can shine light on what is possible, not just on what is practical. Let's engage with the community in new and interesting ways. I want to have wide-ranging and inclusive discussions, find community-driven solutions, and take real action on issues that continually arise in our town, such as water, infrastructure, housing, and development. Let's build our social equity from the front, not waiting for people to feel that they have to get involved. We need to inspire them to want to fulfill their civic duty and be involved. Burlington is a great town, but now is not the time to rest on our achievements. Good enough is not Burlington's best. Every voice matters, and we're going to need to work together for one Burlington. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, Mike Runyon.
All right, thank you, Alan. Good evening, folks. My name is Michael Runyon, candidate for re-election to the Board of Selectmen. I'm a lifelong resident of Burlington and a Burlington High School graduate class of 1976. I married my high school sweetheart, Lisa Roberto, some 40 years ago, and together we have 3 children and 6 grandchildren. I've been active in the community for over 30 years, serving on many boards and committees, including Selectmen for 6 years, Housing Partnership Committee 20 years, I've been a town meeting member for 12 years, served 3 years on the Burlington Housing Authority, 5 years Capital Budget Committee. I am a Council on Aging Subcommittee member. BCAT Board of Directors here for 3 years, a few years ago. Serving on the Cemetery Oversight Committee for 6 years, DPW Facilities Subcommittee, Economic Development Liaison for the Board of Selectmen, currently serving on the Government Review Committee, Chairman of the Burlington 4th of July Committee, Burlington Beautification Committee for 10 years, and many, many more. I've been very busy in the community for well over 30 years, and I thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight and answer questions from the panel.
Thank you very much. And then finally, Joe Morandi.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you very much for having this, and thank you for watching. My name is Joe Morandi. I've had the honor and pleasure of serving you as Selectman for the past 3 years. In addition to that, I've also been on the Zoning Board of Appeals for 3 years. I was a town meeting member for 4 years. I've been involved in Burlington since for the last 20, and that's as long as I've lived here. I'm a third-generation property owner in this town, with the taxes and the residential side of it and the commercial side of it. I'm just asking for one of your 2 votes on April 7th. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we now begin with our questions from the press. First question we'll take from Rich Hosford, and we'll begin with Mike Runyon. Rich?
All right. Burlington has a growing senior population, many of whom are looking for affordable housing so they can stay in town. What would you push the town to do to help this population in that area and in any other areas of concerns facing seniors?
You know, as I mentioned in my opening remarks, I've been involved in affordable housing opportunities here in Burlington for 20 years now, serving on the Housing Partnership Committee. Burlington is head and shoulders above our neighbors in terms of affordable housing opportunities. We're above that 10% threshold. We have been for a long time. We've recently signed a friendly 40B contract for a property along Cambridge Street. We're going to pick up an additional 67 units very shortly. That building is already under construction. Our marketing strategy will be focused towards seniors, but we are doing very well in terms of meeting our affordable housing needs. Could we do better? Yeah, we can always do better. I have a lot of folks who have lived here in town for 50 or 60 years who want to stay here in Burlington. Very difficult for them to stay here in Burlington. You know, they're sitting on some equity that is quite valuable, as you might imagine, with the property values they are today. So we work very hard to try and accommodate them. We've got the Grandview Farm that was part of the land swap property thing a few years ago. That's proved to be very popular, and we look forward to creating additional opportunities in town.
Thank you. Joe Morandi.
As far as the seniors go in town, Mike just about put the whole thing right out there for us. There's a lot going on in town. The 40B that we possibly have coming into town, we're at the 10% thresholds. There's not much more to say than that. There's other projects that being in the works that we could possibly get, we may not get, I don't know. Those are things that are being worked on right now by the Board of Selectmen. For residents to stay in this town is difficult because of some of the housing that's already been taken and some of the ones that we need to do more on. Mike was right when he said that we can always do better. There isn't a person around that can't say, well, I'm as best as I can get. No, there's always a chance to do better in town. So that's what we're working on as a board. Thank you.
Thanks.
And finally, Nick Priest.
So senior housing is definitely something that I think a lot about as my own parents reach senior years. And I know they're not going to like me saying that, but it's true, Mom and Dad, I'm sorry. Yes, we are doing something, but we're not doing enough. Seniors can't stay in the town that they lived in their entire lives, that they raised their families in. They're being aged out because there's nothing, not nothing, but there's not enough affordable housing for them to go to. The condos and townhouses are too expensive, and it's very difficult for them to maintain their own homes. You know, other than looking into building more senior housing, we should be looking into ways for seniors to maintain their homes. If that means increasing the senior work program so that there's a tax write-off for them, you know, as an incentive, or reinstituting. It still exists, funny enough, the Rent-A-Kid program to help both kids get a few bucks in their pocket and seniors to stay in their homes where they have that equity, as Mike, I believe you said. We need to be looking into ways to allow people to stay here in town, because without the people who are the fabric of this community, then what are we?
Okay, thank you very much. Our next question comes from Joy Richard.
Hi, everybody. Thank you.
Hey, Joy.
Okay, so what do you think that you can bring from your career or background that makes you a good selectman, or being an incumbent? What have you brought?
And we'll begin with Joe Morandi.
Well, what have I brought? I brought my knowledge of the business side to the Board of Selectmen. On a very small piece of property in town, commercial side of it. So when we're doing the tax rate, I think of the commercial side, because I pay the residential side, I pay the commercial side, we pay property taxes on the commercial side. That's what I bring to the board. I bring a lot of common sense. The board is in fantastic shape. We have a great Board of Selectmen right now. It's a board that we all get along with, and it's just, how do I say it? The board works well together. As far as like, what else can we bring? It depends upon what opportunities we have come in front of us. We go out and we look for stuff all the time. We're looking for different ways to keep the tax level where it is. There's certain things that we have to do with pay increases and stuff. So you put it all together, when you get 5 heads that get along, it works out really well for us. And that's what our board does.
Thank you.
Same question, Mike Runyon.
Okay, thank you. Joy, as I alluded to in my opening remarks, I've been involved in town government for 3 decades now. Each Monday night that I sit in that seat at a selectmen's meeting, I'm learning something new. There's quite a learning curve at the Board of Selectmen. There's a lot of behind the scenes things that go on and take place. There's a lot of planning. I'll give you a good example. DPW facility. We have been planning replacing our DPW facility for over 3 years now. We are still fine-tuning all aspects of that, particularly the financing a portion of it, before we bring it to town meeting. So there's a lot that goes on to being a selectman that folks don't necessarily see when they tune into BCAT on Monday nights when we meet. There's much more to it, and being able to effectively get the job done requires some previous experience in town government to know the ins and outs of moving legislation along.
Thank you. And finally, Nick Priest.
Thank you, Alan. So the question was, what do I bring from my current position? Right. It's a great question. Thank you, Joy. I would say that I bring a unique opportunity, a different perspective. No, I haven't served for years like the other 2 candidates have, or 3 candidates have, because I know Virginia has spent a very long time here in local government. What I bring is a different perspective, a unique position that unites my understanding of law, my understanding of the importance of strategy, both around development of practical resources and the use of how we operate as a town, as well as bringing new initiatives and how those initiatives may play out over the course of several years, whether or not I make it past a 3-year term. One of the biggest issues I see here in town is communication from the town to the residents. Yes, there's information out there if you dig hard enough, but it's very difficult for people to find it. As someone who's spent the last 10 years in marketing and advertising, making it my business to help people communicate, I think that I would be finely tuned to help the Board of Selectmen create a new level of communication and proactive effort with the people of this community.
Thank you very much. Our next question, we come back to Rich.
So one of the big decisions that the board has to make every year is setting the split between the residential and commercial tax rate. What is your philosophy about, obviously not trying to put too much burden on the residents, but also not trying to drive out businesses? How do you look to try to find that balance?
Okay, and this time we'll start with Mr. Priest.
All right, back to back. The balance we have now with the taxes is obviously good for the residents, being on the the lower end of that deal. And I think that if we can, we should maintain that balance. I think that it strikes a good chord for the residents. And I think that as we grow and as we develop different opportunities for businesses to come here in town, as we look to become more flexible as a town, inviting businesses to make Burlington their home, I think that businesses will be able to take advantage of said amenities and said resources, and they will, be okay with the partnership that we have between the businesses and the residents.
Thank you.
Same question, Mr. Morandi.
Can you go with the question again? I
Yeah,
want to make sure I
absolutely.
answer this the right way.
Yeah, so it's just basically, the town has the split rate for between the residential and the commercial side, and I just wanted to get your thoughts on where the town is now, and just in general how you think the town should go about setting that rate so it's fair for both, or doesn't damage Burlington's economy as it has.
Thank you, Rick.
That's rewording it a little
So
bit.
let me start with seeing both sides of it. I see both sides of that rate. As I said earlier, I have both residential and commercial rate. As a commercial owner in town, I understand that these commercial guys do not have kids going to school. They don't have trash pickup. They have to plow their own, some of these people have to plow their own areas, the district, Third Ave project. We don't take care of that for them. That's all individual. So that's another cost to them. When we look at the big picture of it all, people are thriving to come to Burlington because that commercial rate is very, very good for them. The residential rate is very, very good for the residents. Myself and the rest of the board, we work very hard at keeping that balance so evenly that it doesn't sway either way. When you see residents in town, everybody's happy right now. We're in a good place. We're in a very, very good place. Every now and then you may get someone like, why do we even pay taxes? Well, if we go up too much on the commercial side, we'll have a bunch of empty buildings. And then what do? So right now, and you can bring this on with traffic, because of all those cars that are coming to town, all these businesses, that's why Burlington is where it is. Our town is in fantastic shape right now with the tax rate that we have.
Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Mr. Runyon.
Thank you, Alan. My philosophy on the split rate is if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think most of the residents of Burlington are pleased with the business picking up 60% of the tax rate in town. Residential picks up 40%, despite having 60% of the overall value of property in town here. So we've got a very good situation here in Burlington. The businesses are okay with the split. We did flirt with that $30 range. You may remember 5 or 6 years ago, the $30 tax rate on the commercial side, and that's sort of an area where we started to get a little antsy about perhaps driving businesses out of the area. So we have a very robust commercial sector here in Burlington. It's the engine that makes this train run here, and certainly we want to be mindful of our business community when we set the tax rate. So great care is given and consideration is given each year to the commercial sector, of course, as well as the residential sector.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Now we come back to Ms. Richard for the next question.
Thanks. So as you were saying, business is, what makes the engine run here in Burlington. And I think for people who live here, every day, it's kind of a double-edged sword. They may think the town's trying to cater more to the people who come in to work. They may think there's not as many family-friendly businesses and restaurants and that type of thing. What are some of the things you're working on as a selectman to kind of balance that out a little bit? And for Nick, what's something that you might do if you were elected that might kind of help that balance a little bit?
Okay, and again, back to back, we'll start with Mike.
Okay. Having a very robust commercial sector has been important, and we've tried to accommodate a lot of the redevelopment that's going on in town. They promised us that if we allow them to build it, they will come, and we're beginning to see the fruit of that labor. we've been able to attract some very good businesses. The Millipore Sigma property, 290,000 square feet off of Middlesex Turnpike. Microsoft, Desktop Metals. And the nice thing is that our business district is pretty much on one side of town, while our residential neighborhoods are still pretty much the same. Skilton Lane, Mill Street area, where I grew up in 1963, it's still the same Mill Street, Skilton Lane neighborhood that I grew up in. So there hasn't been too much impact. We're still able to maintain the integrity of our neighborhoods despite the growing pains and the growth that we're experiencing currently.
Same question, Nick.
So in terms of, because the question was around bringing more affordable businesses to the area, correct?
And maybe family-like activity type things.
Right. So Burlington's done a great job of bringing in, to Mike's point, larger businesses who are here to set up shop, make Burlington their home, and that's great. And we've since recently boomed with restaurants to accommodate said businesses all up in that area, which is fantastic because, to Mike's point, I grew up on Holden Ave, I live around the corner on Prouty, and it really hasn't changed much, right? And that's fantastic that you can look at your residential area and feel like it's a residential area, that you're not driving house, strip mall house, or anything like that. But Burlington is lacking in small businesses that families can utilize. I am the father of two wonderful little kids, and my wife and I have a third on the way, and we're very excited. I can't really take my kids and my family out to eat in Burlington. I'm not taking them to Del Frisco's, and I'm not taking them to Capitol Grill. And I can't keep feeding my kids pizza every night, mainly because they have allergies, but it's just also just not healthy. So what do we do? How do we start to look at ways that we can incentivize small businesses to come to Burlington? We have a huge opportunity right in the center of town, our town center, that wonderful strip along 3A. That as we look to further develop Burlington, I think that is one of the main areas that we would consider to redevelop. And we need to find ways to incentivize small businesses to come and set up shop and thrive, right? We look at True North. I use True North as a great example because True North came into town and everyone in the community embraced True North, and True North is thriving. Community needs to help embrace small business and family owned restaurants. And if I'm lucky enough to be elected selectman, I look to find ways to incentivize and bring small businesses back to Burlington.
Thank you. And finally, Joe.
I don't know where to start. So as far as the small business areas in town, I'm not going to disagree with anybody, but right now we're working on the overlay district, which has been going on for years in town. We've just got approved for some liquor licenses that are going to be going in down in the center of town. We looking for small businesses to come in, whether it's a Italian place that everyone says Luigi's. I don't think Luigi's is coming to town. I'm sorry, but sorry everybody, my bad. There's ways, there are a lot of small businesses in town, and that's what made this town. Sometimes you get these bigger places that come into town, and yeah, we get people from New Hampshire, people from Chelmsford, people from all over the place to come to Burlington to spend their money, which we're making taxes on, which helps out the residents. It all reverts back to the residents. As far as the center of town, I'll be the one to say it. We can't do a lot to it until the property owners decide they want to do something. We're the selectmen. We have some say. But until someone says, this is my piece of land and this is what I'm going to do with it, then we can get involved. And until then, we can't do too much about it. So as far as the way it works right now, there are a lot of small businesses. There may not be as small restaurants. I don't have kids, Nick, I'm sorry. I don't know what it's like to take them out, so I just go out with me, it's easy. I don't know what that other aspect of life is like. So we do have a lot in town. It's the small businesses that made this town. We're trying to keep it that way also. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we'll come back to Rich. Awesome.
I'm going to throw out it's just kind of a general one. So as you're talking to residents or as they're calling you or as you're going door to door, or what are some of the areas of concerns or areas of interest that you hear from residents that you would like the town to address or sort of just do more about?
Okay, and we'll start with Joe.
Well, working where I work, I hear quite a bit. As I'm cutting hair, I hear all kinds of things. And I'm going to be as honest as I can possibly be. The town is in fantastic shape. Residents are happy with their taxes. They always talk about traffic. Always. I don't know what we can do. We've done a lot already. We've changed the lights on different spots. We've got grants to have lights all dedicated to be brought in to synchronize. As far as the residents go, I really don't hear any complaints. Everyone's happy with their tax rates. Everyone's happy. So in my mind, that tells me that we're doing a good job right now, and we're in good financial shape.
Okay, thank you. Nick, same question.
So, in my travels across the 11 square miles of Burlington, Massachusetts, I've heard a lot from people. The biggest one that keeps floating to the top actually winds up being communication. And the reason I say that is because as I've been talking to people, I bring up things like the master plan. I bring up, the water issue in town. And outside of taxes or traffic, which I think everyone will always complain about until the cows literally come home, is that they don't know what's going on. They don't feel involved, which I think is a disservice to the community. Right? We have 24,000 people here that live in town, roughly. And we are not doing everything we can to make sure that they're all well informed. We have the Connect 5 system, which I hear mixed reviews about, but we could be doing more regular communication to the community. And yes, communication is a two-way street. But I think that if the government took a more proactive approach, we would definitely see an increase in residential engagement. Outside of that, people talk about the water issue. They don't really know what's going on when it comes to the water issue, but they know it's a problem and they're concerned about it. And then a lot of folks, especially the seniors, again, I talk about housing. And it's funny because housing is a double-edged sword, right? We're aging our seniors out, but because of all of the new construction that we've been doing in town, we're also making it kind of difficult for young families to come into town. So it's kind of tricky in that way. I know some young couples, some young families like myself who just made it into town, really, and now there are a lot of folks who are finding it very difficult. So those are kind of the big ones that have been coming up.
Thank you. And finally, Mike Runyon.
I'd have to say traffic and housing. I hear about that all the time. In terms of traffic, we have made some improvements in town. We've applied for and received grant money along the Middlesex Turnpike in two locations, one at 3rd Ave, the other one at the Route 128 interchange. As Joe referred to, we were selected as a pilot program to synchronize all of our traffic signals. And in fact, when we repaved Wynn Street down by Memorial School there, we actually nudged the yellow line over just enough so that we can, in most instances, allow traffic to proceed southbound toward Woburn while someone's waiting to turn left there. So we meet with my traffic advisory committee almost weekly, trying to address concerns of the neighbors. We put out extra patrols to try and slow people down. And by the way, we're constantly, every year in our DPW budget, we're putting in hundreds of thousands of dollars to improve our traffic signalization at all of our intersections, not to mention the roadways that we do. We've put over $1.5 million in addition to our Chapter 90 funds on maintaining our roadways. We've got a very, very aggressive roadway maintenance system here in town. And I addressed the housing piece a little bit earlier. We've actually created over 300 units of housing, affordable housing in Burlington in just the last 10 years.
Thank you very much. Now for our final question in this round, comes from Joy and Richard.
Okay. So we'll finish up the evening. Why don't you give residents who are watching your two main goals if you're re-elected or elected for the first time?
And we'll begin with Nick Priest.
So I think, my two main goals. Well, goal number one, I think, is centered around communication and engagement. I think that we need to start, as a local government, become more proactive in our outreach. And I think that I'm perfectly positioned to help with this. It's not going to be easy, and why would it be? But we need to turn things around. We need to get people involved. We have a representative town meeting. So obviously, as a local government, we value the voice of the community. And I don't think that we're hearing it. I don't think that we're doing our best to educate and inform the residents of our town so that we can, do bigger and better things. And I think, the second thing is I want to make sure that we are spurring economic development in the right way. I think that we have a huge opportunity in Burlington to, again, be more proactive with our outreach to companies to come to Burlington. Yes, we are in a great location, and yes, we're a pretty awesome town. But there's more that we could that can be done, and we should be doing everything in our power to be doing that. So, if I'm lucky enough to take a seat and serve my 3 years, those are the two things that I think would be top of my list.
Thank you. Mike?
Thank you, Alan. Some of my goals for the future, I think the number one issue that we're going to be facing in the next several months will be our water issue. What are we going to do? Are we going to rebuild or revamp our water treatment facility, or are we going to make that connection to MWRA? Either way, it's going to be an expensive proposition, and we've been discussing this for over 2 years now, trying to figure out the best way to address that. The other thing that I'm a little bit excited about, or very excited about, is our paramedic program. That we're rolling out a paramedic program in the fire department. This is going to bring a superior level of service to the community by having the paramedics as part of our fire department, rather than relying on a third-party independent contract. I'm very excited about that. The community is going to be much better off. We know that there's been some talk of a new school in Burlington, so we're working with our financial team to see where that all plays out, and how we're going to when and where we can start taking steps to address the school issue. And the police department. Police have been, for a long time, as Richard, you're well aware, been beating the drum for a new police station over there. So we've got some challenges ahead, no question.
Chief Ken will be happy to hear.
Thank you. And finally, Joe.
Thank you. I have to agree with Mike on the first issue. The first issue is the water issue. It's a very big issue in town. We've had studies done. We've had numerous meetings on it. We've had presentation at town meeting on water. We've had a lot of stuff on the water issue in town. Where we're going with it as a board, we don't know yet, because we haven't really, we've sat down and discussed it, but we don't have all the numbers, and it's going to be a very expensive cost to town. So we don't really know which way we're going to go. MWRA, fix the treatment plants are there. It's up in the air. We have to really sit down and figure it out. That's one of the goals that would be fantastic to have. Second goal would be, for me, you could almost take your pick, whether it's the police department. We already got the new fire department coming in, which was a great asset to the fire department in town, to have one on the other side. The DPW we're working on. Mike had mentioned earlier that it's not just a Monday night meeting thing. We have meetings. I have 3 meetings Monday coming up. Thank God I have the day off. But there's meeting after meeting after meeting. And it's all to make sure that this town is run properly. And I thank the Lord that we have some of the greatest people in town in our department heads, whether it's Mr. Sanchez, Mr. Petrin, Brian Curtin. We have some great people in town, and they're the ones that help us decide which way to go, what direction is the best for the town financially. And it's all about the financials. Which way should we go? This way, right, left, down the middle? And those would be the biggest goals for me, would be the water and the and probably the DPW bond right now.
Okay, thank you very much. Now we're going to change things up a little bit. Each of you gets to ask your fellow candidates one question. And again, with 90 seconds to respond, and we begin with Mike asking a question.
Alan, you know what? I really didn't have a question. I didn't.
difficult.
Bring a question.
Oh,
with me.
okay.
One's not popping into mine offhand, I'm sorry.
No problem at all. How about Joe? Do you have a question?
I have nothing.
You have
I'm
nothing.
very happy with what's going on in town. Mr. Priest is doing a great job. Mike's doing a great job. He's up here. He's supporting himself, which I think is great. I have no questions for anybody.
You want us to write a couple for you guys?
Nope,
I
I'm
know.
good.
Yeah,
You guys probably have a lot of questions.
Flashcard.
You guys have a lot of questions.
How about-
All I can say is we're very happy. I'm very happy right now.
Nick, do you have any questions for your fellow candidates?
I do have one.
All right.
I do have one. Sorry, guys.
Man, we're good.
What is one skill that you each feel you bring to the Board of Selectmen?
Want me to go first?
Sure, Joe.
Dealer's choice. I don't
Yes, Joe, you
I'll
go
let you
first.
think about it for a little bit, and there goes the chair again. Sorry, everybody. This chair spins
Spinning
one
around,
more
I
time
know.
on me. Anyway, there we go.
They are
There you go.
trained,
Thank you. The old guy needs help over here. What'd you ask me? I was going to fall off.
The chair's throwing them all out. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Joe. What's one skill you feel you bring to the Board of Selectmen?
Comedy.
Yeah.
I'm only kidding. I'm a great slapstick guy. No, the skill I bring is, like I said earlier, it's the idea of being a business owner, a commercial owner, and watching the rates and making sure that that the town is still set in a great way on both sets of the tax rates. The skill that I have, it's endorsed, not endorsed, it's these guys help me bring out the best of all of us. You know what I mean? And I think that the skill is being able to talk. Just sit down and talk. We don't agree on everything. Trust me, we don't. And when we walk out of that room, we'll still go have a beer. Well, I don't drink, but they'll have a beer and I'll have a Coke. But that's the skill that I have. It's just be able to talk, be able to communicate, get along, and then walk out of the room and it leaves us behind us. So, thank you.
Okay, and finally, Mike.
The skill that I'm rather proud of is people tell me that I'm a good listener. I interact with hundreds, if not thousands, of people each year. My job as a firefighter, I'm in hundreds and hundreds of homes each year. I spend an awful lot of time at the senior center. I sit in with the bingo players. I attend their current events groups. I might even just sit in the lounge with them. I'm a frequent visitor to the senior center. They're of particular interest and concern to me, and I think that my ability to listen to what they have to say is probably my biggest asset as a member of the Board of Selectmen.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, it's time for the closing statements. This time around, you get 2 minutes. And we will begin with Nick.
All right. So I think, as somebody who is a fresh face to local government, a big question that's going to come up and has come up with a lot of folks is, what do I bring to the table? I bring a different perspective. Years of experience in research, understanding the law, interpreting dense material, and creating and implementing strategic initiatives, and a collaborative nature. I'm enthusiastic and full of energy, and I'm looking to help grow Burlington through community-driven discussions and solutions. Let's find proactive and engaging ways to stay attractive to residents and businesses. I lead through example. I'm the first one to roll up my sleeves and get to work. No, it won't be easy. Nothing in this world ever is. No, it won't happen overnight. We have process, checks, and balances, and we need those. No, we're not all going to agree on everything, but that's the beauty of working together for the common good. We bring different viewpoints. I will collaborate and look to develop initiatives for the betterment of Burlington. I will bring a fresh perspective because now is not the time to rest on our achievements. I will do everything I can to raise the community engagement, ensuring every citizen has a voice and is heard, so that together we are one Burlington, for all, by all. I cannot emphasize enough that your vote does matter. I hope to earn one of your 2 votes, and I look forward to doing that. And I look forward to seeing everyone on Election Day, April 7th. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mike, your final comments.
Alan, thank you again. In closing, I would like to say that there's a lot to like about Burlington. Each year, along with the census, the town clerk has sent out questionnaires, and we've repeatedly, over the last several years, receiving a 95% approval rating from the community. People are very pleased with Burlington. There's just so many things that they like about Burlington. Let me just list a few of them for you. We've got 2 new schools. We've got safe neighborhoods. We've got a quality educational system here in town. We've got a robust commercial sector, exceptional home values. We've got no fees for trash pickup. We've got the finest public safety anywhere. We've got a new senior center, new renovations going on to the senior center for expanded activities and opportunities for seniors in town. We have affordable housing options that no one else has. As I mentioned earlier, we're head and shoulders above our neighbors in affordable housing. We have no fees for school transportation. We've got a brand new fire station underway. We've got quality roadways. New space for Children and Family Services just moved into 33 Center Street that we acquired for them. We've got a beautiful town common and the finest parks and recreation programs anywhere. And I could go on and on and on about what's nice about Burlington here. And that doesn't happen by accident. To govern effectively as a selectman requires an experienced candidate that can make sound decisions and efficiently manage your tax dollars and plan for the future. I believe that I've demonstrated those qualities as your selectman, and I ask for your support on Election Day. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. And finally, Joe, your last words.
Thank you very much. I got nothing to say. Mike just said everything. I don't know what to say now. Thanks, Mike. You're all right. What do I say in my closing statements? First of all, thank you for having this debate. Secondly, thank you to the town of Burlington for allowing me to be your selectman for the past 3 years. I would thoroughly enjoy being a selectman for the next 3 years also. This town is in fantastic shape. If you just heard Mike said all the stuff we've accomplished, and it didn't happen with my 3-year term. It's happened a lot with Mike's 6-year term. It takes a long time to become part of this program, to realize what goes on, to realize what happens with the money, where it goes. In closing, honestly, please, go vote. That's the biggest thing. We have a lot of people in town who like to see everybody out there on Election Day. So please give me an opportunity to go 3 more years as one of your selectmen. Thank you.
Well, that about wraps things up. In closing, I'd like to thank all of the candidates, Mike Runyon, Joe Morandi, Nick Priest, and of course Virginia Mooney, for sharing their vision with the people of Burlington and for offering their time and service to the town. Thank you, Joy Richard, representing the Burlington Union, and Rich Hosford of B News. And finally, thank you to Jen Dodge and the rest of the staff and volunteers here at BCAT. Remember, Election Day is Saturday, April 7th. The polls at the high school are open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Here's your chance to have a say in how your town is governed. Make sure you take advantage of that right and responsibility. Thank you for watching.